Suprabhatam. Friends, today we will be touching the third lecture on Maya by Swamiji. The first we heard about Maya and illusion. The second was Maya and the evolution of the conception of God. And third is this, Maya and freedom. This is a part of the Jnanyoga. It was delivered on 22nd of October in 1896 in London. Swamiji, opening this talk, gave a beautiful quotations from a very famous poet writing, William Wordsworth. The poem is Ode, Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood. The line he quotes is very interesting line. This says, trailing clouds of glory we come. This is a very interesting part, and Swami is saying that not all of us come as trailing clouds of glory. However, some of us may be coming from the trailing black fogs. But there can be no questions about that, because every one of us comes into this world to fight as on a battlefield. We come here weeping to fight our way out and to make a path for ourselves through this infinite ocean of life. Forward we go, having long ages behind us and an immense expanse beyond. So we go on till death comes and takes us off this field. We do not know whether victorious or defeated. We do not know. And Swamiji is saying this is Maya. In fact, during this whole talk, Swamiji has mentioned 6 times defining this Maya through different examples. Next he is saying very interesting things. Hope. Hope is dominant in the heart of childhood. The whole world is a golden vision in the opening of a child. And he thinks he is supreme. As we move forward, we may hurl ourselves against it again and again, striving to break through. The further a child goes, the further recedes the ideal till death comes and there is relapse and release, perhaps. And this is Maya. Next, very interesting, is talking about a man of science rises. He is thirsting after knowledge. No sacrifice is too great, no struggle too hopeless for him. He moves forward, discovering secret after secret of the nature, searching out the secrets for our innermost heart. And what for? The question comes, what is it all that for? Why should we give him glory? Why should he acquire fame? Does not nature do infinitely more than any human being can do? And nature is dull, insentient. Why should it be glory to imitate the dull, the insentient? Nature can hurl a thunderbolt of any magnitude to any distance that we have experienced in daily life. If a man can do a small part as much, we praise him and laud him to the skies. Why? Why should we praise him for imitating nature, imitating death, imitating dullness, imitating insentience? The force of gravitation can pull to pieces the biggest mass that ever existed, yet it is insentient. What glory is there in imitating the insentient? Yet we are all struggling after that, and that is Maya. The saints drags that human soul out. Man is searching for pleasure and for happiness where it can never be found. For countless ages we are all taught that this is futile and vain. There is no happiness here. But we cannot learn. It is impossible for us to do so except through our own expenses. We try them and blow comes. Do we learn them? Not even then. Like moths hurling themselves against the flame, we are hurling ourselves again and again into sense pleasures, hoping to find satisfaction here. We return again and again with freshened energy, and thus we go on, till crippled and cheated we die. And this is Maya. So is it our intellect. In our desire to solve the mysteries of the universe, we cannot stop our questioning. We feel we must know and cannot believe that no knowledge is to be gained. A few steps and there arises the wall of beginningless and endless time which we cannot surmount. A few steps, and there appears a wall of boundless space which cannot be surmounted, and the whole is irrevocably bound in by the walls of cause and effect. We cannot go beyond them. Yet we struggle, and still have to struggle, and this is Maya. With every breath, with every pulsation of the heart, with every one of our movements, we think we are free. And the very moment we are shown that we are not, bound slaves, nature's bound slaves, in body, in mind, in all our thoughts, in all our feelings, and this is Maya. There is never a mother who did not think her child was a born genius. The most extraordinary child that was ever born, she dotes upon her child. Her whole soul is in the child. The child grows up, perhaps becomes a drunkard, a brute, illiterates the mother, and the more he illiterates her, the more her love increases. The world lauds it as unselfish love of the mother, little dreaming that the mother is a born slave. She cannot help it. She would 1,000 times rather throw up the burden, but she cannot. So she covers it with mass of flowers, which she calls wonderful love, and this is Maya. To tell about this Maya, Swamiji is giving a wonderful story, which you all know. And this is a story, a legend tells us how once Narada said to Krishna, Lord, show me Maya. A few days passed away, and Krishna asked Narada to make a trip with him towards the desert. And after walking for several miles, suddenly Krishna said, Narada, I am thirsty. Can you fetch some water for me? I will go at once, sir, and get you water. So said Narada and went. At a little distance there was a village. He entered the village in search of water and knocked at a door, which was opened by a most beautiful young girl. At the sight of her, he immediately forgot that his master was waiting for water, perhaps dying for the want of it. He forgot everything and began to talk to the girl. All that day he did not return to his master. The next day he was again at the house talking to the girl. That talk ripened into love. He asked the father of the daughter that he wants to marry, and they were married and lived there and had children. Such way the 12 years passed. In between his father-in-law died, he inherited his property, and he lived, as it seemed to think, a very happy married life with children and wife, with his fields and his cattle and so forth and so on. Then suddenly came a flood. One night the river rose until it overflowed its banks and flooded the whole villages. Houses fell, men and animals were swept away and drowned, and everything was floating on the rush of the stream. Narada had to escape. With one hand he held his wife, and with the other 2 of his children. Another child on his shoulder, and he was trying to ford this tremendous flood. After a few steps, he found the current was too strong, and the child on his shoulders fell and was borne away. A cry of despair came from Narada. In trying to save that child, he lost his grips upon one of the others, and it also was lost. At last his wife, whom he clasped with all his might, was torn away by the strong current and was thrown on the bank, weeping and wailing in bitter lamentation. Behind him there came a gentle voice, My child, where is the water? Went to fetch a pitcher of water, and I am waiting for you. You have been gone for quite half an hour. Half an hour? Narada exclaimed. 12 whole years had passed through his mind, and all these scenes had happened in half an hour. And Swamiji is saying, this is Maya. In one form or another, we are all on it. It is the most difficult and intricate state of things to understand. It has been preached in every country, taught everywhere, but only believed by a few. Swamiji is saying. But until we get the experience ourselves, we cannot believe in it. What is it so? Something very terrible. For it is all futile. Time, the avenger of everything, comes and nothing is left. He swallows up saint and the sinner, the king and the peasant, the beautiful and the ugly. Time leaves nothing. Everything is rushing towards that one goal, destruction. Our knowledge, our arts, our sciences, our everything is rushing towards it. None can stem the tide. None can hold it back for a minute. We may try to forget it in the same way that Persons in a plague-stricken city try to create oblivion by drinking, dancing, and other vain attempts, so becoming paralyzed. So we are trying to forget and trying to create oblivion by all sorts of sense pleasures. And Swamiji is saying, this is Maya. So, the two ways have been proposed, as Swamiji is saying. One method, which everyone knows, is very common, and that is, Swamiji, I quote, "It may be very true, but do not think of it. Make way while the sun shines, as the proverb says. It is all true, it is a fact, but do not mind it. Says the few pleasures you can do, whatever you can, do not look at the dark side of the picture, but always towards the hopeful, the positive side. There is some truth in this, but there is also danger. The truth is that it is a good motive power. Hope and a positive ideal are very good motive powers for our lives, but there is a certain danger in this. The danger lies in our giving up the struggle in despair. Such is the case with those who preach. I quote, take the whole world as it is, sit down as calmly and comfortably as you can, and be contented with all these miseries. When you receive blows, say that they are not blows but flowers. And when you say are driven about like slaves, say that you are free. Day and night tells lies to others and to your own souls, because it is the only way to live happily. This is what is called practical wisdom, and never has been very more prevalent in the world than it is in this century and the Swamiji's time also. Because never were harder blows hit them at the present time, never was competition keener, never were men so cruel to their fellow human being, and therefore must this coalition be offered. It is put forward in the strongest way at the present time, but it fails us, as it is always. It would not avail long, for long soon the roses would fade and the carrion would be worse than ever before. So with our lives. Swamiji is saying, we may try to cover our old and festering souls with cloth of gold, but there comes a day when the cloth of gold is removed and the soul in all its ugliness is revealed. So the question comes, is there no hope then? True, it is that we are all slaves of Maya, born in Maya and live in Maya. Is there no way out, no hope? That we are all miserable? That this world is really prison? That even our so-called trailing beauty is but a prison home? And that even our so-called trailing beauties and intellects and minds are prison houses, even known for ages and ages. There has never been a man, there has never been a human soul who has not felt this sometime or other, however he may talk. And the old people felt it most, because in them is the accumulated experience of a whole life, because they cannot be easily cheated by the lies of the nature. Is there no way out? The question comes. We find that with all this, with this terrible fact before us, in the midst of sorrow and suffering, in the pleasure and pain, in this whole world where life and death are synonymous, even there is a still small voice that is ringing through all ages, through all countries, through every steps, every herd. This, I quote, this my Maya is divine, made up of qualities and very difficult to cross. Yet those that come unto me cross the river of life. Come unto me, ye all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you the rest. Unquote. This is the voice that is leading us forward. This voice comes to mean everything seems to be lost and hope that is fled. When man's dependence on his own strength has been crushed down, and everything seems to melt away between his fingers and life is hopeless to him, then he hears this question, voice. This is called religion, Swamiji is saying. Wonderfully is explaining, wonderfully is putting all the logic and reasoning to help us to overcome this Maya, to understand and realize our own true self. On the other side, therefore, is the bold assertion that this all is nonsense, that this is all Maya. And beyond this Maya, there is no way out. Don't bother your herds about such nonsense as religion and metaphysics. Live here, this is a very bad world indeed, but make the best of it. Which put in plain language means live a hypocritical, lying life, a life of continuous fraud, covering all souls in the best way you can. Go on putting patch after patch until everything is lost and you're a mass of a patchwork. This is what is called practical life. Those that are satisfied with this patchwork will never come to religion. Religion begins with a tremendous dissatisfaction with the present state of things, with our lives and hatred, an intense hatred for this patching up of life, an unbounded disgust for fraud and lies. He alone can be religious who dares say, as the mighty Buddha once said under the Bodhian tree, when this idea practically appeared before him, and he saw that it was nonsense, and yet could not find a way out. When the temptation came to him to give up his search after truth, to go back to the old world, live the old life of fraud, calling things by wrong names, telling lies oneself and to everybody, he, the giant, conquered it and said, I quote, "Death is better than a vegetating, ignorant life. It is better to die in the battlefield than to live a life of defeat." Unquote. This is the basis of religion. When a man takes this stand, he is on the way to find the truth, he is on the way to God. That determination must be the first impulse towards becoming religious. I'll hew out a way for myself. I'll know the truth or give up my life in attempt. For on this side it is nothing, it is gone, it is vanishing every day. The beautiful, hopeful young person of today is a veteran of tomorrow. Hopes and joys and pleasures and pains will die like blossoms with tomorrow's frost. That is one side. On the other, there are the great charms of conquest, victories over all the ills of life, victory over life itself, the conquest of the universe. On that side, man can stand. Those who dare, therefore, to struggle for victory, for truth, for religion, are in the right side. And that is what the Vedas preach. Be not in despair, the way is very difficult, like walking on the razor's edge. Yet despair not, arise, awake, and find the idol of the goal. So far, Swamiji is talking about the Maya. Now he is talking about freedom. What is that? Swamiji is saying, now all these various manifestations of religion, in whatever shape and form they have come to mankind, have this one common central basis. It is the preaching of freedom, the way out of this world. They never came to reconcile the world and religion, but to cut the Gordian knot, to establish religion in its own ideal and not to compromise with the world. That is what every religion preaches. The duty of the Vedanta is to harmonize all these aspirations, to make manifest the common ground between all the religions of the world, the highest as well as the lowest. What we call the most arrant superstition and the highest philosophy really have a common aim in that they both try to show the way out of the same difficulty, and in most cases this way is through the help of someone who is not himself bound by the laws of the nature. In one word, someone who is free. In spite of all the difficulties and difference of opinion about the nature of the one free agent, whether he is a personal god or a sentient being like man, whether masculine, feminine or neuter, and the discussions have been endless, the fundamental idea is the same. In spite of the almost hopeless contradictions of the different systems, we find the golden thread of unity running through them all. And this philosophy, this golden thread has been stressed, revealed little by little to our view. And the first step to this, as Swamiji is saying, is revelation is the common ground that all are advancing towards freedom. One curious fact present in this midst of all our joys and sorrows, difficulties and struggles, pain and pleasure, is that we are surely journeying towards freedom. The question is practically this. The question, what is this universe? From what it does arise? Into what it does go back? And whether an answer says, in freedom it rises, in freedom it rests, and unto freedom it melts away. This idea of freedom you cannot relinquish. Your actions, your very lives will be lost without it. Every moment, nature is providing us to be slaves and not free. Yet, simultaneously rises the other idea, that still we are free. At every step, we are knocked down, as it were, by the Maya and shown that we are bound. Yet at the same moment, together with this blow, together this feeling that we are bound, comes the other feeling that we are free. Some inner voice tells us that we are free, but we attempt to realize that freedom. To make this manifest, we find it difficulties almost insurmountable. Yet in spite of this, all insisting on asserting that itself inwardly, I am free, I am free. And when you study all the various religions of all this world, you will find this idea expressed. Not religion. You must not take this word in its narrow sense, but the whole life of society is the assertion of that one principle of freedom. All movements are the assertion of that one freedom. That voice has been heard by everyone, whether he knows it or not. That voice which declares, I quote, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden," unquote. It may not be in the same language or the same form of speech, but in the same form or the other. That voice calling for freedom has been with us. Yes, we are born here on account of that voice. Every one of these movements is for that. We are all rushing towards freedom. We are all following that voice, whether we know it or not. As the children of the village were attracted by the music of the flute player, so we all are following the music of the voice without knowing it. That's a wonderful statement made by Swamiji. He's saying, we are ethical when we follow that voice. Not only the human soul, but all creatures from the lowest to the highest have heard the voice and rushing towards it. And in the struggle are neither combining with each other nor punishing each other out of the way. Thus come competition, joy, struggles, life, pleasure and death, and the whole universe is nothing but the result of this mad struggle to reach the voice. This is the manifestation of nature. So what happens then? The sense begin to shift. As soon as you know the voice and understand what it is, the whole thing changes. The same world which was the ghastly battlefield of Maya is now changed into something good and beautiful. We no longer crush nature, nor say that the world is horrible and all this is in vain. As soon as we understand, we see the reason the struggle should be there. This fight, this competition, difficulty, joy, cruelty, pleasure, pain. We see that everyone in this nature of things, because without them there would be no going towards the voice, to attain which we are destined, whether we know it or not. All human life, all nature, therefore, is struggle to attain the freedom. The sun is moving towards the goal, so is the earth encircling around the sun, so is the moon encircling around the earth. To that goal the planet is moving. Everything is struggling towards that. The saint is going towards that voice. The sinner is also the same. The charitable man is going towards the voice, so is the hindered, the measure, the greatest worker of good hears, and the same voice, and he cannot resist it. He must go towards the voice. One stumbles more than another, and him who stumbles more than we call bad. Him who stumbles less we call good. Good and bad are never two different things. They are one and the same. The difference is not one of kind, but of degree. Swami is saying, now, if the manifestation of this power of freedom is really governing the whole universe, applying that to religion or spatial study, we find this idea has been the one assertion throughout. Take the lowest form of religion, with this the worship of departed ancestors or certain powerful and cruel gods. What is the permanent idea about the gods or departed ancestors? That they are superior to nature, not bound by its restrictions. The worshipper has no doubt very limited idea of the nature. He himself cannot pass through a wall nor fly up into the skies, but the gods whom he worships can do these things. What is meant by that philosophically? That the assertion of freedom is there, that the gods whom he worships are superior to nature as he knows it. So with those who worship still higher beings, as the idea of nature expands, the idea of the soul which is superior to nature also expands, until we come to what we call monotheism, which holds that there is Maya, nature, and that there is some being who is the ruler of this Maya. This is a wonderful conclusion Swamiji is making, which is holding that there is Maya and that there is some being who is ruler of this Maya. Swami is saying, here Vedanta begins, where these monotheistic ideas first appear. But the Vedanta philosophy went further and further explanations. This explanation that there is a being beyond all this manifestation of Maya, who is superior to and independent of Maya, and who is attracting us towards himself, and that we are all going towards him, is very good, says Vedanta. But yet the perception is not clear. The vision is dim and hazy, although it does not directly contradict reason. Just in your hymn it is said, I quote, nearer my God to thee, unquote. The same hymn would be very good to the Vedantine, only he would change a word and make it nearer my God to me, unquote. The idea that goal is far off, far beyond nature, attracting us all towards it, has to be brought nearer and nearer, without degrading or degenerating it. The God of heaven becomes the God of nature, and the God in nature becomes the God who is in nature, and the God who is nature becomes the God within this temple of the body, and the God dwelling in this temple of the body at last becomes the temple itself, becomes the soul and the man, and there it reaches the last words it can teach. He whom the sages have been seeking in all these places is in our own hearts. The voice that you heard was right, says the Vedanta, but the direction you gave to the voice was wrong. That ideal of freedom that you perceived was correct, but you projected it outside yourself, and that was your mistake. Swaminji is saying clearly, bring it nearer and nearer until you find that it was all the time within you. It was the self of your own self. That freedom was your own nature, and this Maya never bound you. Nature never has power over you. Like a frightened child, we are dreaming that it was throttling you, and the release from this fear is the goal. Not only to see intellectually, but to perceive it, actualize it, realize it, much more differently than we perceive this world. Then we shall know that we are free. Then and then alone, with all difficulties vanish, then will all the perplexities of the heart be smoothed away, all crookedness made straight, then will vanish the delusion of manifoldness and nature. And Maya, instead of being a horrible, hopeless dream as it is now, will become most beautiful. And this earth, instead of being a prison house, will become our playground. And even dangers and difficulties, when all sufferings, pain and pleasure will become defied and show us their real nature. Will show us that behind everything, as the substance of everything, he is standing, and that is the one real self. The wonderfully Swamiji, through these 3 lectures, gave a very good exposition and told us about what is Maya and how to conquer over it, and how Maya becomes a secondary and realize our own self. Hari Om Tat Sat.